You guys remember a couple years ago when Viltrox announced that 28mm f4.5 pancake lens that they nicknamed Chip? Well, they announced a new lens today, and it's kind of like that, but a lot better. Well, Viltrox has made what might possibly be the quintessential go-to compact everyday carry lens. This is the new Viltrox 26mm f2.8. Now, this video is sponsored by Saal Digital. More on them in a minute, but for now, let's talk about this lens. So I am extremely excited about this because it is the latest lens to their EVO lineup. We had the 85, then we had the 35 and the 55, and now we have a 26mm to top it all off. Obviously, this one's a little bit different from the other lenses. Now, coming from the Viltrox 28 4.5 pancake lens, I was a little hesitant, a little nervous about this lens because, like I mentioned, the novelty of that lens wore off very, very quickly. The image quality wasn't the best. The build quality of it was obviously very cheap. It was a $100 lens. This lens is a $300 lens, but I think this one is actually worth that price because the image quality on this holds up with the other EVO lenses. Now, the biggest difference between the 35 and the 55 and this, besides the size, is the fact that this is not an apochromatic lens. So you will see a little bit of chromatic aberration, maybe a little purple fringing, but for the most part, it's still really not that bad at all, honestly. I had to work pretty hard to get any sign of chromatic aberration on this lens, so for what it is, it might as well be almost apochromatic. So this lens is seriously tiny for the quality that it offers, and it actually gets even smaller. This is actually the lens hood on here, so if you take this off, you will see that it is even more compact. On the Sony A7CR, it barely comes past the grip on it. Another thing that I really appreciate that helps make this the perfect everyday carry lens is actually the lens cap. As you can see, it is magnetic, which is really, really cool. You can almost hold the camera by the lens cap without it coming off. Almost, not quite, so I don't recommend holding the camera by the lens cap. So it's super easy if you just have the camera, on you and you see something you want to take a photo of, pop it off, throw it in your back pocket. It's a lot easier and quick compared to having to do the little squeeze things, and half the time it's hard to even get it on there anyways. So that's just another reason I really, really like this lens. Another kind of weird quirk about this lens is that the aperture ring on it is reversed. So you twist it the other way compared to what I'm used to on pretty much every other lens I've ever used. So I find myself accidentally, instead of going to f2.8 or f4, I find myself accidentally going all the way to f16 or to the automatic, which there is no hard stop between the 16 and then the automatic mode on this on the aperture ring. So that is a small annoyance that I have with it, but again, overall, very small price to pay, and with a little bit of practice, a little bit of muscle memory, you'll get used to it fairly quickly. But with that, I am tired of talking about this lens. Let's go take some photos and then we'll talk about the actual photos from this camera because I am super impressed, if I haven't already said that. All right, so I always hate when new lenses come out during the summer months, especially July and August, because it has been insanely hot here where I live. If you live in the southeastern US or even Europe recently, there has been a crazy heat wave passing through, which makes it a lot more difficult to go out and test out this lens. Luckily, it's not too hot this evening, only about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which I'll take what I can get for now. And this is already a pretty cool spot. I love coming out here to take photos. I don't do it too often, actually. Going to one of my favorite spots. Gonna try to catch this light before it's all gone. To me, 26mm is kind of like the perfect everyday carry focal length. I like 24 as an everyday carry, but 26 is perfect because you can also crop in, and it's about 38mm focal length equivalent, which is nice. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit late. The sun's not gone down too much, but the sun did go behind some clouds. And before we go over the image quality, let me ask you a question. When you're done taking your photos, editing, and sharing them online, what do you do with them? Rather than just letting them sit on a hard drive, have you considered printing your photos, or better yet, making a photo book? 3 years ago when I traveled across the country photographing Route 66, I had this dream of combining all of the images that I took into a photo book. And thanks to the sponsor of this video, Saal Digital, I was finally able to make that happen. And whether you're from the US, the UK, or the EU, you can get 30% off of your photo book using the link in the description below. When I received my photo book, I was absolutely impressed with the quality. And as many photographers know, receiving prints of your photos in the mail can be a little nerve-wracking because you never really know if the colors are going to look exactly how you envisioned or edited them. But I can assure you the colors look phenomenal and the images are crisp. The pages also feature a lay flat binding and corner-to-corner printing that made my jaw drop the first time I opened it up and saw my photos come to life. And I know the design process can be a little daunting, but using their specialized software was simple and intuitive from start to finish. Hanging your photos on the wall is something I highly recommend, but nothing compares to having a beautiful photo book on the coffee table, turning your photos into a truly interactive experience. So click the link in the description and get 30% off of your photo book. And if you're a professional photographer who sells prints and photo books, Saal Digital also offers a professional account where you can set up your own shop and enjoy a permanent 35% discount on all products, not to mention a 50% discount on sample products, plus dedicated B2B support to help grow your business. Thank you to Saal Digital for sponsoring this video. Now back to the lens. Alright, now let's talk about the image quality from the Viltrox 26mm 2.8. Like I mentioned, it's been so incredibly hot outside. I've not had as much time as I would have liked to get out and shoot with this lens, but I have gone out a couple mornings and taken some photos. I took this lens to the farmer's market and snapped this single photo before it was too hot and I was ready to go home, but you can see just how sharp this lens is. Now all of these photos have been edited with my presets, but the colors and the contrast on this lens really impressed me. I was nervous coming from just how good the colors and the contrast are on the Viltrox 35 and 55 EVOs, but it's safe to say they did not disappoint on this lens as well. And here you can see a little bit of the background blur, the bokeh that you can get with this lens. Of course, it is a 26mm 2.8, so it's nothing crazy, but for the most part, it looks really good. The bokeh is pretty smooth. It looks very pleasant, actually. And you can see the sharpness here with this photo of my wife and just how the bokeh is. You know, you'll get a little bit, but don't expect a lot. This photo was a bit of a test to see if there was any distortion, and there's really none to be found. There's also not too much vignetting either, so in that way it really impressed me. In this photo you can see I was testing out to see if there was any chromatic aberration since this is not an apochromatic lens, but it pleasantly surprised me. Outside of the preset I applied, I did not remove any chromatic aberration. There's a little bit, but not too much. Now, I can't forget to mention the autofocus. I have had 0 misses. It is fast and all of the photos have come out extremely sharp, so that has impressed me. What has not impressed me is the ghosting and the flaring. As you can see in this photo, it looks like a crazy light leak or something. Here's the photo unedited, but that was really extreme. So after that, I decided to test out and see what I could do on purpose. Now this is me trying to get some ghosting and flaring in the image, and it's not too pretty. But once you use the lens for a little bit, you can kind of figure out the angles where you're probably gonna catch some sun flares. But it's not hard to avoid, and it is relatively manageable. As you can see with this photo, I'm shooting directly at the sun, and it's not bad. Let's wrap this video up and go over some of my final thoughts. A couple things that I like and a couple things that I dislike. We'll start out with the dislikes first. The aperture ring. As I mentioned earlier, it's reversed compared to every other lens I've used. So even when filming this video, filming the photo walk portion earlier, I found myself constantly accidentally switching it to f11, 16, or the automatic mode. Not a huge deal. Like I said, I haven't had this lens for too long, so that's something I'm still getting used to. And there's also no way to declick the aperture ring. Personally, not a problem for me because I'm not going to be using this lens for video. The click is pretty quiet anyways, and it's pretty smooth to begin with, so might bother some people, but just wanted to let you guys know. There's also no autofocus, a manual focus switch on this lens because it is so compact. There's not really anywhere that they could have put it to begin with. Again, not a big problem for me because the autofocus on this lens is extremely good, but just in case you did want to use manual focus, you'll have to go into your menu to switch that. And speaking of manual focus, the manual focus ring is so tiny on this lens, it might be hard to find, and you'll probably find yourself accidentally changing the aperture as well when you're trying to adjust focus. And last of all, for the things that I dislike, the lens hood is where you attach the lens filter. There's nowhere on the actual lens itself to attach a lens filter. So if your lens filter is always going to be on the outside of the lens hood, you're probably a bit more likely to catch any kind of sun flares or just glares in general that might mess up your image. Just something to note, I personally do not own any lens filters that are 43 millimeters, so I haven't been able to test that out, but also just something to keep in mind. Now, the stuff I like about this lens, as I mentioned, the autofocus. The autofocus is extremely fast and accurate on this lens. I've had no issues whatsoever. The minimum focus distance on this lens is also pretty great. And the overall build quality of this lens is metal, and it just feels really, really nice. It's not too heavy, but it feels extremely durable, and you're not gonna have to worry about accidentally breaking it if you were to drop your camera. I don't think you're gonna have that problem. Now, I know a lot of people might be kind of upset about the $300 price of this lens, but I promise the quality more than makes up for it in terms of the build quality and the image quality. I think people need to stop looking at Viltrox as being just a cheap Chinese lens manufacturer and start putting them closer to the leagues of, the Sigmas and the Tamrons and the other higher quality third-party lenses. Because Viltrox has really stepped up their game over the past 2 or 3 years. Of course, they still have the cheaper lenses like the Air lenses and the chip lens, but they are making a huge leap forward with their Pro lenses, their Lab lenses, and now their Evo lenses, which are much more affordable. Now, of course, I know it's not completely fair for me to say that this lens is 100% worth $300 because Viltrox did send it to me and I do get to keep it. But after using it, if I was just trying it out, I would 100% understand why this lens is the price that it is. Think about it, you could definitely pay a lot less and get a 7 Artisans lens, or the TT Artisans, or the Viltrox chip lens. Or the next closest thing, which is a step up, would probably be the Sony Compact G lenses, like the 24, the 40, or the 50. But those lenses have only gone up in price since they've been released. I think they were $600 when they came out. If you go over to Amazon now, they cost like $750. So you could spend, $750, maybe find one for $500-600 used. Or you could just get this lens, which I'm honestly enjoying a lot more, and I feel like I have no reason to continue to own those compact G lenses. So I'm greatly enjoying this lens. I'm definitely going to use this lens a lot in the future. I think it fits perfectly into my kit alongside my 35 1.8 Evo and then my 20-70 zoom lens. So with that, I'm going to end this video. If you enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Thank you to Saal Digital for sponsoring this video, and I hope I could inspire you guys to get out and take more photos. Go out and shoot.